Sweet Christmas. We are back again. It's been a while since the last time we got together. I'm here again. It's me, David Action Jackson, as per usual, doing the Why Not Geek Talk video podcast. It ain't a video. I don't know why I said video. Why the hell I say video? Today I'm joined by my cousin,
Anthony the Mr. Mallard Pratt.
And on his way, running on Super CP time as usual, is Dynamite Dee Harris of the Dee Harris brand. He'll be here shortly to get in on the podcast. You'll probably hear Layla in the background too. But today we are going to be talking about everybody's favorite bulletproof black man from Harlem, Luke Cage Season 2. There was so much going on in this season.
There was a lot in this season.
A whole lot in this season. There was so much character development. Everybody got a part. Everybody got a piece of the pie, as they say in the Jeffersons theme song. God, you learn so much about all these characters. You start to feel for most of them. And then Mariah does some shit, and you're like, fuck her.
Yeah, there's some characters you really start hating.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and like we finally get to see several characters the way we've wanted to see them since they started the Marvel Netflix universe. We got to see Misty with the bionic arm. We got to see the previews of the Daughters of the Dragon with Colleen and Misty, and we got to see Danny Rand actually be Iron Fist the way we've wanted him since they did season 1 of Iron Fist and Defenders. This was the Iron Fist I've been waiting on for 2 seasons now.
Oh, just wait. Yeah, no, they're setting him up great for season 2.
Season 2 of Iron Fist looks amazing. But moving on, going into Harlem, this is Luke Cage after the Defenders. This is Luke after season 1. This is him embracing his role as a hero.
And still not believing in dragons.
Still not believing in dragons, although, like, by this point, he would have seen Sokovia fall and would have seen, the aliens in New York, you would think. Actually, no, Luke was probably in prison when that was happening. In the Avengers 1. And Luke was probably at Seagate when that was happening.
Yeah, but he would have
still seen it on the news or something.
And even then, he still would have seen Sokovia fall.
Yeah. Yeah, so he should believe it. I mean, and he's bulletproof, so the nigga should know the dragons might exist. If I can be shot and not get killed, maybe dragons do exist. Anyway, but we're getting way ahead of ourselves with that, because that's later, that's episode 10. But first and foremost, every title this year was, God, I can't remember the band now.
Last year, wasn't it Gangstar?
Last year was Gangstar.
Well, not yet last year.
Last season. This season was... We're
going to find out.
Yeah, we're going to look here.
Google is our friend, not our enemy.
Sorry for the dead space.
Or the TV. You find it?
I think so. Yeah, I did. I gotta. It was. Obviously, it was nods from hip hop. But Pete Rock and CL Smooth. That's what it was. That was what it was. Every title was a Pete Rock or CL Smooth song, and they kind of this year the episode titles kind of foreshadow what was going to happen in the episode. But again, the first episode starts out with a bang. Quite literally, is Luke shutting down a drug warehouse right off the rip, walking in a hoodie that was actually for the African American Association for Students.
Yeah.
It was a cross promotion because we learned that they have since branched out with DW and Bobby was it?
Yeah.
Had been setting up sponsorships and stuff for Luke, and he's making some money. Like
DW knows how to market.
DW does know how to market. That boy is a marketing genius. I really wish I had him working on my team because this podcast would have taken off by now. But you see Luke doing his thing. He's like taking out the drug house, and of course the bad guys have what I call Superman syndrome, to where
they still try to attack him anyways.
Yeah,
but at least they acknowledge it. They're like, "Come on, man, they got to know we tried."
Right. He does say that because Luke confronts him. He's like, "Really, y'all gonna try this?" And he's like, the guy was like, "They got to know we at least tried." And then they shoot him, and it doesn't work. And Luke's them. He taps them all in the heads, and then we get to see. Again, more evolution of of Luke as a character. Like, he's embracing the role as a hero. He's embracing the role as Harlem's protector. We get to see the relationship between him and Claire start to evolve.
Yes.
Into what it eventually becomes by the end of the season. We get to see DW's character evolve. We get to see... then you get to see the people of Harlem's Paradise evolve. You get to see Mariah and
Shades.
You get to see Shades. Shades definitely goes deep.
Like unravels.
Shades' character was. I had the opportunity to meet Theo Rossi 2 years ago that plays Shades, and I missed it. And I'm kicking myself because after watching this season, I really wish I had met this man because he's one of those villains who is definitely a villain. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about this cat. He's a villain. But you feel for him. You understand why he does the things that he does. You don't agree with him.
The same way about him in Sons of Anarchy also. Trust me.
That's what I've heard. I still need to watch Sons.
Great actor.
But the man is like, he's probably one of the standouts of this season.
Yeah. Yes, easily.
And you definitely get to see that evolution of that character, which we'll boomerang back to that. Where I just kind of want to cover the fact that we got to see all these characters grow. You're introduced.
Misty also.
You get to see Misty. Yeah, you get to see a lot of Misty.
Develops and has some flashbacks with Scarf.
Yeah. There's a lot about the relationship with her and Scarf. There's a lot about her accepting the fact that she doesn't have her arm before the bionic, the Misty Knight that we all
getting
know.
Followed by one of the cops on the show.
Oh yeah. Justin Swain. Mark Bailey on the show, Justin Swain at Justin Swain Official on Instagram. We're buddies. Yeah, I said it. He follows me on Instagram. He likes my stuff. I like his stuff. We're cool. We're besties. It's the way it works. And the head of Atreus Plastics follows me on Instagram too.
You asked him for a job.
The head of Atreus Plastics. Again, we'll get back to that too. But anyway, the entire plot for the Harlem's Paradise crew is Mariah wants to get out of the game. Mariah wants to go 100% legit. In the beginning, she wants to go legit. She wants to find a way to get out of the gun business, and
Shades is used even more as her boy toy the entire season.
Right, which in season 1, now correct me if I'm wrong, but in season 1, the way I felt at the end of season 1 was Shades wasn't about that life. He was using Mariah to get what he wanted, is what it seemed. But in this season, it seems like he genuinely cares about her. Like he actually has affection toward this woman, who's at least twice his senior.
Yeah.
And, again, portrayed by the wonderful Alfred Woodard. Mariah's character was... She's one of those characters that you grow to hate exponentially as the season goes on. And to me, that's the sign of a good actor.
Yeah.
Like, if you can make me hate who you're playing, before the backlash of her being crazy, I hated Monique's black ass and Precious. Before her, Netflix crap. Same thing with Tandy Newton from Pursuit of Happiness. Mm-hmm. I hated her.
And the same as the guy in Black Lightning.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, my God. He just...
Gamby?
No,
the...
Proctor.
Proctor, yeah. Yeah, that guy. Jesus Christ. God. I'm pretty sure if I met that actor, I'd just punch him in the face. With Mariah, I wouldn't. It's Alfred Woodard, so I'd still hug her because she's still a mother type for everything else she's ever been in with us, that we grew up watching. But with the guy that plays Proctor, I'm pretty sure I'd just hit him in the throat. But anyway, the Harlem's Paradise crew, it actually grows too because we see Comanche, one of the dudes that was Shades' boy, and he was one of the crew from Seagate that beat the hell out of Luke in the first place, or Carl at the time.
Comanche, Shades, and what's his name? Tone, and
there was one more. Comanche, Shades, Tone, and
I thought it was just those.
No, he talks about him being dead when he talks to Comanche's mother later. I can't remember.
I thought they were talking about Tone.
Were they talking about Tone?
Because Tone's the one who died. He was the one who instigated the shoot up on
He got thrown off the roof. So it might have been Tone he was talking about. Yeah. I thought he said something else. I thought it was something with an A.
Well, Comanche's actual name maybe
is Darius.
Okay.
But I thought he was talking about somebody else. I might be wrong. I watched that episode twice, but I haven't watched it again. Anyhow, we get Comanche, who again was a part of the Seagate crew, and he is kind of. He's not necessarily trying to manipulate Shades, I wouldn't say.
No, he's trying to get him to go back to his roots.
But he's trying to get him to go back to doing the thing that they do best and basically thug it up. Whereas Mariah's no, we want to go legit. I want everything on the books. But the way they do it is not.
Well, even then, the whole time Shades is saying, if you want to go on the books, let me take over the gang business.
Yeah, let me take over the guns. Let me take over over the game, and then we'll go from there, and everything will be all right. But Mariah's like, no, I want out. I want out. I want out. I want my hands clean completely.
And she's trying to sell it away.
She wants to sell off the guns because they need to. Well, they need to make some money
and bringing in drugs.
Yeah, well, that's not till later though.
Okay.
That's not till much later when the character evolves. Yet when she takes that evolution into the full version of Black Mariah that we get to see, that's when that happens. But at this point, Mariah Dillard at this point wants to go completely clean. Well, we'll get there. Mariah Dillard wants to go completely clean and wants to. She doesn't do it the cleanest way though, because then we're introduced to Piranha, her lawyer. Who Piranha was one of my favorite characters this season. I don't think he got a fair shake. Like they, pretty much with Luke Cage season 2, just imagine it as Game of Thrones. If you start to fall for a character, they gonna Game of Thrones that character.
Yeah.
But they do such a good job of making you give a shit, even about the bad guys. Like again, Piranha was.
One character was gonna get Game of Thrones real hard this season.
Yeah, so did I. She didn't, but yeah.
Oh no, I'm talking about a dude.
Oh, I'm talking about Claire. I thought Claire was gonna get.
I mean Bobby.
Oh yeah, I'm glad they didn't do that.
Because he started. It's nothing to do with plot. He eventually just says he has to go see his daughter.
Yeah, it's just their way of the character leaving the show, at least temporarily.
Yeah.
But they didn't kill him, thank Primus.
And I honestly thought there's like, yeah, I'm gonna go to my daughter.
I thought before he left something was gonna happen.
We're doing like a kidney transplant or something like that.
Oh yeah, he's a donor.
He's the donor. He's like, I'm not always around her, but I was so happy to be able to help her. I'm gonna love my girl. And then I was like, they're gonna kill him off.
Right.
I was thinking both him and his daughter are gonna die.
And I'm really glad that didn't happen because they're very good characters. Well, it's like we haven't met the daughter yet, but he was a very good character. Yeah. I was honestly sad to see him go. That said, we do meet Luke's father, played by Reggie Cathy. Rest his soul. The man did pass away shortly after filming Luke Cage season 2.
But the man did such a good job.
He was yet another, like, honestly, we're going to say this a lot, like, highlight of this season is something I'm going to throw around a lot in this podcast because, like, there were so many characters that made you go, damn, I want more of them.
At first, I didn't want any of Luke's dad.
Well, when you first meet him, like, he's a preacher. And when you first meet the character in the show, he's that preacher to where he's like, it's my way and God's way or no way. And that's the way we're going to be. No matter what, that's how we're going to handle this. And you kind of like that. You understand the wedge that's driven between him and Luke.
Well, that and every time Luke's like, "Yeah, I'm bulletproof," and he's like, "That don't mean you can't take an ass whooping."
Right.
And I'm like, "Whoa,
right.
Like, right. Talk to your dad like that again."
Right. Well, again, we meet all kinds of characters. Like aside from like the positive ones, we have Piranha and we also have Cockroach. Cockroach and Piranha are both characters from the recent run of the Defenders in Marvel's comics, which kind of threw me off because like in the comics they're much older and they're like former supervillains, like they're costume villains.
Really?
And Piranha was part of Mariah and Cottonmouth's gang in the comics, and Cockroach was like actually a dude that wore a cockroach suit. And I didn't expect what happened to them to happen to them because like in the comics they're still there. I mean, spoiler alert, like I said, they Game of Thrones a couple of people, and those are 2 of them.
I'm going to say, put it this way, I don't remember Cockroach that much.
Cockroach was short-lived. He was the asshole that beat his wife and was going to beat his son.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, he needed to be
he deserved what he got, but... So anyway, we're skipping the most important, newest additions to this season in the form of the main foil to Mr. Cage... Bushmaster.
What's the group called?
The Yardies or the Stylers.
The Stylers.
Yeah, but they go by both. Man, when you first meet Bushmaster,
and
you just think
this not even exist.
Right. When you first meet Bushmaster, you're like, this cat is just here trying to get Harlem. You don't know why. And you're like, damn, like, this is just another dude that's, like, trying to horn in on the territory he keeps claiming it as his birthright, but you don't know why. We just know that he keeps saying, it's me birthright. Like,
obviously, if you've seen the trailer, you've seen his little one type of fight with Luke, and you go, oh, so he's actually going to be like the big bad.
Yeah, and he is ish. The first time you see Bushmaster, I can't remember who he rolls up on, but they shoot him and it doesn't do anything. The bullets don't bounce off of him like Luke, but like his body.
No, he was taking over the gang.
Oh yeah, he was taking over the Yardies and replacing them. Because at this point, Luke has made a name for himself, and DW made the Hero Finder app or whatever, and the Harlem Hero app. That's what it is. And like basically, you can ping Luke. Like if you see him, you take a picture of him, you ping him, and if anybody needs him that's in that area, they can find him easier. And Luke gets set up because he starts to find out some of the things that Mariah and Shades are into, and he goes to beat the information out of somebody.
Yeah.
And then they go to attack him later. And that's where we get the trailer with the I'm Luke Cage, you can't burn me, you can't blast me, and you damn sure can't break me. But what they don't show in the trailer is what Mike Coulter's Luke Cage does next, and that's he's being recorded by DW and then he dabs. And it's terrible. And Mike knows it was. Like, he actually explained it. He said it was supposed to be bad. It's supposed to be Luke not being with the times and, you know, trying to keep up with the kids and everything, trying to put himself out there. It was supposed to be awkward. And I was like, good, because it was.
And he said he will never, ever dab.
He promised he will never dab again, which I'm really glad, and I really hope he doesn't.
See, everybody else was finding it awkward. I found it hilarious.
I cracked up.
I was like, especially if you're in my generation, you knew it was funny.
Yeah, I cracked up. Again, Luke is getting. I'd say at this point he's a little bit too cocky, because he hasn't had anybody other than Diamondback that can take him on his level, and I mean Jessica, but like Jessica still can't even hang with him. When Luke fought Jessica Jones in season 1, if Luke was in control of himself and actually fighting her, there's no way Jessica was winning that fight. And Danny still don't. Danny with the Iron Fist wins that fight. Danny without being able to use the Iron Fist loses to Luke Cage.
Yeah.
But so again, like he's just basically taking down drug dealers and gangbangers. So he's thinking he's untouchable. Incoming Bushmaster. So Bushmaster finds out that Luke is the protector of Harlem and he needs to make a statement. So he catches him on the street, sucker punches him, and then beats the living hell out of him. He like Giles from Street Fighter flash kicks him. And then he makes a video. Well, he records to DW because DW is recording the whole thing for some odd reason instead of helping his friend. He's recording it. And, now the world is seeing Luke Cage get his ass beat. While this is going on again, like there was a drug. Actually, the reason Luke was on the streets is there was a drug called Luke Cage hitting the street. It was a new form of heroin. And Luke was trying to put an end to it. And I don't know why. This is another phone call. It's probably a telemarketer again. I'm not going to answer it.
So it ain't D?
No, it ain't him. He should be here soonish, though.
Of the Dee Harris brand.
But they did such a good job of making you go, all right, man, Luke got his ass beat. What happens next?
Yeah.
Because he really got his bell rung, and you're like, all right, so now this dude can be beaten. Like, it's kind of like, it goes back to, and this is a little bit before, actually, Anthony would have been really little when this happened, or right before you were born. It goes back to back in the day when, like, they did the Death of Superman for DC, to where you're like, oh, finally, somebody that is a strong as Superman to take him on his level.
I just know that from the animation.
Yeah, but, like, you see, that's the thing, like, with these invulnerable characters, they're not invulnerable. They can be beaten by somebody that can fight at their level if they're a better fighter. And that's what happens with Bushmaster. And the thing is, and I love Luke, I love the character. Luke is a brawler. He's a street fighter. When it comes down to it, Luke's not a good fighter.
No.
He has no actual style. He throws haymakers, heavy punches, heavy kicks, or he flicks you in the forehead. But if you're as strong as he is, it's not going to matter. And, yeah,
slaps you right in the head.
Little bop on the floor. Little bunny foo pop.
Bushmaster knows, what is it, Capybara?
Capoeira. Yeah, Bushmaster knows Capoeira as well as street fighting because he grew up in Jamaica. On his own, mind you.
Yeah.
We eventually find out the connection to why he's back and why he's in Harlem, and it's a doozy. Again, like I told Anthony before we started this, we're not gonna we're not going to do like a step-by-step recap of this season, but they give you reason to look at Bushmaster the way that we looked at Killmonger and Black Panther.
So basically, mind if I take
Go for it.
So, very rundown version is, originally, Bushmaster is named after what is Bushmaster rum, okay? Bushmaster rum was a rum that was created by his family, and that was put together with the Boogie Stokes, right?
Yeah.
To create Harlem's Paradise. And then Boogie Stokes and Bushmaster's father, right? Grandfather, both died. So of course his mother was trying to take over for them and wanted a piece of Harlem's Paradise. And then Mama Mabel was no, you ain't getting any of it.
Mama Mabel.
I don't care.
When we see the flashback to explain Bushmaster's origin, it's Johnny, who's Bushmaster, May, Mariah, and
Cottonmouth
was there. Yeah. We only see him for a second, but he was there. And it's Mama Mabel and Bushmaster's mother sitting down with each other.
And
they're lawyers.
Well, yeah, but also the uncle.
Oh, yeah. Pete.
Yeah, Uncle Pete. I was like, he's actually important also. Pete Stokes. Pistol Pete Stokes.
Stokes. Mariah Stokes.
She's not Mariah Dillard. She's
Mariah Stokes. But anyway, they're having what is seemingly a civil business meeting, trying to divvy up what's left of Harlem's Paradise.
And eventually they say, fine. Sign everything.
Yeah, they sign the paperwork. And then Bushmaster is a kid and his mother is sleeping in their house. And the house is on fire. And she tries to get out, but she has him get out first. And he doesn't get out. Well, he gets out, but his mother doesn't get out, so he's laying in front of the house. And this is how, to be blunt, this is how fucked up the Stokes family is while he's watching the house burn and realizing that he couldn't do anything to save his mother, fucking Mabel shows up
and just throws in the contract.
And said, I told your mama I didn't want to deal with no lawyers. And I was like, nigga, what? Like they really
just burned his mom alive in front of him.
And she said some more wood for the fire when she threw the paper in there. Like, that was kind of messed up, but that's what they did. God, it was such a good season. There were so many good plot points. Back to reality. This is that's much later in the series. But to give you a little bit more background of why I say that Bushmaster is a sympathetic villain like Killmonger. And at first you think to yourself, you're like, oh, Killmonger's worse. Because, you know, he's got all the marks on his body from kills. Bushmaster's just as bad.
Yeah.
Because when we making the joke about the head of Atreus Plastics earlier and me asking for a job, 3 episodes in, well, the way that Mariah and Shades are trying to get their money, because they need to raise $20 million to do an insider trading buy on Atreus Plastics to get to be majority shareholders to go completely legit. And the way they raise the money is they sell the gun business. And like they go to everybody, and actually that's where the beginning of the show starts with Luke taking out the head of the Latin gang, who was like a furniture mogul, which was
also
a weird
he's
cover.
Selling the gun business not to the other gangs, to the Stylers.
Yeah, what they didn't realize, this is before we realized what was going on with Bushmaster, though. Well, we knew, but this is before they knew. And so they're selling it to the Stylers, and Bushmaster's there. Actually, they didn't deal with the head that they used to deal with because he killed him.
Yeah.
So they make the buy, and you know Mariah's grand plan is to use this money and use their newfound wealth to open this community health center
Community outreach health center,
and have her daughter be in charge of it. Who we meet, whose name, for those of you that don't know, is Tilda Johnson. Also Tilda Dillard, but Tilda Johnson. Tilda Johnson will ring familiar with some comic fans because she's a character from the comics. We'll get to that later too. But her grand plan is to open this clinic and leave Tilda in charge of it. And like it actually seems like, aside from the way they got the money, it seems like Mariah's trying to be noble and everything. And you're like, all right, this is pretty slick. Like, I understand what you're doing. And you actually, again, you start to care for the character because you're like, all right, you want to get out. and it's actually working for you in your favor. You don't know that Bushmaster is taking advantage of you, and you're led to believe that he's just going to make her empire crumble without actually causing any damage or anything, or like hurting anybody, or like he's just going to take her out and take what's his. Then they do the grand opening of the clinic. And the head of Atreus Plastics and Cockroach, who we didn't really touch on other than the fact that we said that he beat his wife and Luke beat his ass, because he did.
Yeah.
Luke beat his monkey ass in the middle of that living room. Cockroach, the head of Atreus Plastics, and there was one more. I can't remember who it was.
The Latin dude?
Yes, yeah, it was the head of the Latin gang. They opened the doors for the grand opening, which was a late night opening, which was really weird. Like, it was dark out. Yeah. And like the press is there and everything. Mariah opens the doors and there's literal heads on pikes waiting for her, and she had no clue.
Yep.
And that's what Bushmaster did.
Bushmaster tends to decapitate his foes.
Yeah, he's again, sympathetic villain, but this was before we knew what we know about him, before we knew his origin story. We're like, wow, I can't believe this dude did this. Like, he actually went all out and like he killed these people, and you are like, why though? Why did the head of Atreus Plastics have to be killed? Because they manipulate the head of Atreus Plastics into doing what Mariah wants, and I don't feel he deserved to be killed. I get it. It sent a message. It sent the message that Bushmaster wanted to send, but I feel like they kind of wasted the character by killing him. Especially because now I can't get a job at Atreus Plastics in season 3. So everybody at this point is worried about Luke, because Luke realizes he's not untouchable, but he also realizes that he still needs to stand up for Harlem, but he's also being a little bit rough about it and being angry. And like Claire's trying to get him to calm down, and like she's trying to get him to talk to his father, and he doesn't want to talk to his dad. Bobby even tries to get him to talk to his dad.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, he's like, no, I don't want to talk to that man, blah, 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 blah. And at one point, Claire goes and sees his father under the guise of someone else. Like, she doesn't admit that she's with Luke or anything like that, but she goes and listens to him preach, and they end up talking.
His name was Lucas.
Well, his last name is Lucas. Oh yeah, she said Lucas was his first name or something, or Lawrence or something to completely throw him off the trail.
Good old Leroy.
Yeah, Leroy Jenkins. But either way, like this, you get to see more evolution of Claire, and I mean, I love Rosario Dawson. I do. The problem I have with comic book TV shows like Luke Cage and like Arrow and like Flash is going in and knowing what you know about relationships with those characters and who these characters are supposed to end up with. I love Rosario Dawson. I love Claire. Luke and Jessica are supposed to be together, and that's a thing. So them still having Claire in the show makes me go, okay, meh. And the same thing with like
Jessica Jones season 2.
Yeah, don't get me started on that.
I liked him.
For now, something's gonna happen to him by season 3. But anyway, like we know Luke and Jessica are supposed to be together, and like Luke and Claire, to me, it's not meshing. It's not really like clicking. Like, she wants what's best for him, he wants what's best for him in his own mind. I don't know, man. Like, I think it works, but I kind of thought it was underhanded of her to go see his father. Like, she didn't directly talk about Luke, but she talked about Luke.
Yeah.
And what I don't agree with was the way Luke handled it when they ended up talking about everything, trying to work everything out.
Yeah, that was stupid.
You do see a side of Luke Cage in this show that we haven't seen. Yeah, and that's the full-on angry at the world black man.
Yeah.
Like, as Luke and Claire get into an argument, and he ends up punching a hole in her wall. And
like ripping paper for him.
Yeah, it really was. I completely disagree with the way he acted about that. I thought it was bullshit, and I understand why they did it though, because it was showing the evolution of the character.
Yeah.
He lost his cool. He lost control, and at that point, it's when you realize he lost Claire. He doesn't get to treat her like that. She ain't gonna put up with that bullshit.
Yeah.
And none of us blame her for that. She leaves and moves on, and then from there, like, you see Luke just doing his own thing, like investigating without her and hoping that she's around, but she's not, and like basically sleeping at the barbershop.
Yep.
And working with DW. And I think it's around this time that he gets slapped little. Oh no! Damn, we skipped over the lawsuit and the party and everything.
And all of the stuff happening with Misty having trouble with after what happened to Defenders.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That was like a first 2 or 3 episodes thing.
Double back. Misty Knight. We'll talk about Misty first, and we'll get back into Luke. Misty is adjusting to life after losing her arm and being back on the force, and everybody babying her.
Yeah.
And everybody staring at her, and everybody. We were introduced to Nandi, a new character that's now Bailey's new partner. That's a detective, who's drop dead gorgeous. Who is
they both are though.
Oh yeah, she's seemingly a good cop.
She just wants to be better than Misty.
Yeah, her and Misty grew up together. They went to school together, and they went to the academy together. And again, everybody's treating Misty like she's that broken baby now. Like, nobody wants to talk to her because of her arm, and nobody wants to work with her on anything. Nobody wants to let her work. Ridenauer doesn't want to let her work. The chief. Let's talk about the chief too. He was a great character. What I really like, what I gotta say I appreciate about this is that all these characters are inherently human and flawed.
Yes.
No matter how superhuman they are, no matter what powers they have, no matter what abilities they have, all these characters are flawed, and they actually go through. That's why for years in comic books I always related more to Marvel characters than I did DC characters. DC now is like in the last 20 years is introducing characters that are human, like inherently flawed and human and have the same problems that we do. But Marvel has always done that. And for us, as black people, to see these characters that are black in Harlem and Hispanic in Harlem, and they not only have issues, but they have the same problems that we do. That's what makes these a lot more relatable. And I mean, you find out that the chief is running his own investigation after telling Misty that to stay off of it, and like she starts investigating all the crimes and everything. And then I can't remember what the catalyst is to make her finally go and talk to Danny and Colleen. Well, she's training with Colleen, and Colleen is basically telling her to quit acting like a little bitch without your arm. And they fight, and like Colleen like schools her, and then they go out to the bar and they have a drink, and they're accosted by a guy. It's actually one of the Netflix clips on Twitter and on Netflix and on YouTube and stuff. And then you find out the guy actually is somebody who Misty arrested his brother. And he accosts her, so Misty is fighting him. And what I like is like it's blatant phantom limb syndrome at one point. Like she actually swings at him with her bare arm, which isn't there. And then Colleen doesn't help him. Doesn't help her at all. And I like that. We're losing Anthony, folks.
Anthony's running off of like 4 hours of sleep. And
it's all
adulting
good.
Today.
It's all good.
And it was a little hot.
Yeah. God, who else do we have here? Some stuff and some other things, and we talked about Misty.
There's ice in the bottom of this glass. It's getting real nice right now.
Colleen. Well, they eventually take the guy out, and we move on, and we see
knocked everybody out in that pool hall.
Yeah, they did. They fucked everybody up. That's Misty with one arm.
Well, the entire time she was like, Colleen was like, you could talk to Danny, and then she's like, no.
Yeah, she keeps saying no, and then eventually they finds a note in her desk or something, and it said, we're ready to help whenever you want it. Oh, actually, she finds her arm, and then she goes and gets it calibrated, and we finally get Misty with Mark 1 of her bionic arm, and that was all of us that are Misty Knight fans are like, it's about time. It doesn't make her a better character, but it makes her a more awesome character.
Yeah.
But what I really love is Misty's police vision, is what I like to call it. When like she looks at like a crime scene or crime scene photos, and like she relives the events.
She has her. It's what I'd like to call a Boondock Saints moment.
Oh yeah, yeah, very much so. To where she's living out everything that's happening.
She turns into Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
There was a fire.
Without the theatrics though. But she knows everything that happens.
Well, for a while at the beginning, without her arm, she was having trouble visioning it.
Uh-huh.
And then you get like Scarf flashbacks.
Well, because she's literally using her arm as a crutch. Like she's thinking about life and how it would be better if she had both arms, and how she'd be a better person with both arms,
and how she didn't see Scarf doing the stuff that he did.
Yeah, she starts to relive a lot of the things that she did with Scarf, and not realize. And then she's starting to realize, oh shit, he was planting evidence. And actually, Cockroach was one of the reasons that they realized that was Cockroach tells her that he plants evidence.
Yep.
And then
Scarf's like, if you really want to get this guy, we could go plant something down on them and then bring him in.
And then acted like he was joking, and then they go and they are shaking him down for something at his house, and then Scarf mysteriously finds a gun. And then later, again, that's a flashback, because we all know Scarf died in season 1. But in later, moving on, after Luke beats the hell out of Cockroach, he gets a lawyer and is suing Luke for emotional trauma and physical trauma. And, Luke talks to his lawyer, who happens to be Foggy Nelson from Daredevil, about helping him get out of it and everything. And Foggy's basically like, well, you can pay him, or we can take it to court. But if we take it to court, you're not going to win.
Yep.
And Luke's like, I don't have that kind of money, because the number was something like, what was it, like $100,000 or something. It wasn't that much.
It was like $105,000.
Yeah, it wasn't as much as you would think that somebody like Cockroach would ask for, but I think he was trying to keep it low so it seemed legit. But anyway, he got an offer. Well, I guess Luke was looking for work from people and looking for promotional deals and stuff, because Foggy told him to. And it was after Bobby left, right? And Luke's looking around, and like everybody wants him to do crazy shit. Like one guy wants him to fight animals, and he wants him to fight a bear, and he's like, you can take a bear, right? And Luke's like, I'm not fighting a bear. He's like, hold on a minute. So he calls Foggy. He's like, how much did you say Beyonce makes for party appearances? So he calls the guy that called him, who ends up being Piranha, and he goes to a party where we get our first Avengers reference, because they asked one of the guys asked if Luke can take the big green monster, meaning the Hulk, and Luke's walking around in a hoodie, which is one of his damn hoodies, and when he puts it on before that, he goes goddamn cosplay, but it's the same hoodie that he wears on a regular basis, so I don't even know.
Yep.
So I thought that was kind of sweet. We missed out on those Carhartt Luke Cage hoodies, by the way, Anthony. They made 5,000 of them. They sold out within 6 hours.
I'm surprised they didn't sell out within like 5 minutes.
Yeah, nobody knew about them. Because truthfully, how many black people go to Carhartt's website looking for stuff?
To be fair, I didn't even know about them.
Yeah, exactly. So I knew because Jeannie saw an article about it and was like, oh, we can get one. And then I tried the day they came out and they were gone. I was like, well, never mind. So this party is actually pretty slick and it's pretty funny. And like you got your references, and then you have a guy hit Luke over the head with a glass bottle.
Yep. And
then Luke picks him up by the collar, and the guy, like, he hands his the guy that Luke has picked up has his boy pick up his phone. He's like, take a picture of this, this is great. So like he's excited about it, whereas I wouldn't be excited that Luke Cage was about to beat my ass. So he goes up on stage because Piranha calls him up on there, and Piranha pulls out a 9mm and was like, you can pay to shoot Luke Cage, and Luke's like, no, you can't. And I can't remember what... Somebody shows up to take out Piranha. Oh, the Stylers show up to take out Piranha because at this point we know that he did the $20 million buy for Mariah and Shades to get out, and like he did the corrupted insider trading, and they had to give him power of attorney to make everything look legit. And excuse me, the Stylers have an idea of this. So they show up at the party to take him out. Luke saves them. And that's when we get our first Heroes for Hire reference. And we think that we're going to get Heroes for Hire, and we don't. But, well, we're only 40 minutes in.
I believe it.
There's so much to cover in this season.
Still trying to figure out where Dee's at.
Yeah, he should be on his way. He's at 6-ish. 6-ish. It's 6:15.
Yeah, colored people time.
Right. Super CP time. You know, he's the White Ranger. You should be able to teleport here. Haha! Some of you guys get that. All three of you that are listening to this podcast. Luke saving Piranha. Blah, 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 blah. Well, while Luke's saving Piranha, everybody is on the lookout for him. Like, Misty's looking for him. I think this is around the time that we learn that Ridenhour has a snitch.
Yeah.
And I think we learn who that snitch is at this point. And the snitch ends up being the devil in Shades' ear. Comanche.
Old Comanche.
Who, I mean, it's kind of implied that these two are more than best friends.
Yeah, heavily.
But, like, I don't see it.
I did.
I think they're close, like, they're brothers more than anything. Like, I mean, it may be, but, like, I also don't. I don't know. That stuff doesn't just, like, stand out to me. Like, I was just like, okay, like, this is a boy. But again, it's at this point too that we start to find out more about Mariah and Tilda, and Mariah's trying to be in Tilda's life and tells her how much she loves her and blah blah blah, and you find out what Tilda does. That's what it is.
Yes.
Tilda works as an herbalist. She's a doctor at a place called Mother's Touch.
And Luke got a concussion when Bushmaster kicked him.
Yeah, and he went to see her, and she gave him something for the concussion. And we find out where Bushmaster's powers come from.
Yep.
Bushmaster apparently has always been supernaturally strong, but what increases his strength, helps him heal, and helps him level out is an herb called Nightshade, which should sound familiar to people that read Marvel Comics, because it's Tilda's character in the comics. So they're trying to. Bushmaster needs to find a way to re-up, basically, because like this herb can only be grown in Jamaican soil properly. And Tilda, like, he finds out that she has it. I can't remember how he finds out that she has it, but he gets it from her, and she doesn't know who he is, and all that. And they interact, and then Luke goes to go to talk to her, and she says she doesn't know who he is. And at this point, Luke doesn't know that Tilda is Mariah's daughter.
Yep.
That comes as a shock in a few episodes. But man, like, the depth they go with all these characters, and like the winding and interconnecting roads, like, they make you feel like, damn, man, I get to know all these characters.
I'm gonna love them all later.
I get to care about all these characters. And then they snatch the fucking rug out of you.
Like, we got you comfortable? Time to throw you on the floor.
Because now we have all this going on. And eventually what happens is Bushmaster comes for his own, and he comes to take out Mariah. And the way he does that is he catches her. I can't remember. Something happens in Harlem's Paradise. To where she needs to get out of there, and they go to the brownstone. Oh, Bushmaster puts a price on her head.
Yeah, that's right.
And
that wasn't that right after the.
That was after the fire. Yeah, because somebody shows up at the police station outside to try to kill her.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was after that.
Well, was that after the fire, or was that after the community center?
Was it after the community center that she goes they go to the brownstone?
I thought she went to the police station afterwards, and they put a bounty on her head.
Oh yeah, she goes to the police station and she talks to Ridenhour, and then Misty sees the connection between her and Ridenhour. And we do too, as the viewer. You see that Ridenhour and Meme, as he calls her, know each other and have known each other. And this is at this point that we start to find out something about Tilda's parentage, because as far as we know, I can't remember his first name, but Dillard is her father. That's what you know at this point. But then he says she doesn't even know who her real daddy is. Now, at that point, I thought, because Ridenhour, the way he was acting, Like, cause like, you know, he wanted Mariah to be his prom date and all this bullshit. I thought it was riding hour, but then you find out it's not. We'll get to that in a little bit, because that's a very big point of contention I'm seeing on the internet, and I definitely want to talk to you about that. The conversation between Mariah and Tilda. But anyway, so Mariah's like, fuck this, we're getting out of here. So they go to the brownstone, and they're like staying there, and the Stylers are out looking for him, and they eventually, that was actually at the same time that Luke was on the run with Piranha.
Yes.
And
talk about the party.
After the party, yeah. Yeah, I talked about the party. You were drifting when I talked about
Was
the
that
party.
really?
Yeah.
Talk about who was at the party?
I can't remember who was at the party.
Well, Ghostface was at the party.
Oh, yeah, shit. Ghostface was on stage. Ghostface Killer, that's right.
Yeah, and he walks in with Foggy and goes, yo, is that Ghostface?
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, did you know Method Man wrote a song about me?
Oh, yeah, that's right. And Foggy was like, oh, shit. Yeah. I forgot about that, because I jumped to the end of the party.
Yeah, because he said the Luke Cage hoodie that he had up in there. Yep, you're right.
And I jumped to
the Seagate jump. Is onesie is what I want to call it? Jumpsuit.
Oh, his jumpsuit, yeah. Oh, yeah, because he wanted him to wear... He had that hanging up on the wall.
He wanted him to wear the prison clothes first, and he's like, no.
Yeah, then he sent him the hoodie. So, yeah, at the same time that's going on, the Stylers are out looking for Mariah. That's when the Stylers show up to go after Piranha at the club. And then he gets Piranha to safety. And before the fire is when Luke calls out Bushmaster again.
Yep.
Luke calls him out, and they meet up on the bridge. And we get probably one of the best fight scenes of the season. Because that fight was completely one-on-one, and it was Luke and Bushmaster full power. And actually, it was going in Luke's favor for a minute.
And Bushmaster
cheated.
Pulled a King of the Hill.
Yeah.
And pulled out some pocket sand.
Hasha!
Hit him with that pocket sand and threw him in the lake. Well, threw him in the bay.
Yeah.
Practically. He's in New York, so he threw him in Hudson Bay.
Yeah, Hudson. And then,
Luke was supposed to sink down like a rock.
And then you see, like, Luke having visions of his mother and father. And his father calls for him and tells him to get up, and he gets up, and then he goes back to the church where he left Piranha with his dad. And Luke was trying to work, like, not trying to work things out with his dad, but like trying to be civil because he needed help.
And he goes, "Where's Piranha?"
And his dad's like, "I don't know. I thought he was with you." He's like, "You had one job," and like it turns into a temporary fight.
Boy, you better not raise your voice.
Yeah, you better get that bass out your voice. And I had a flashback when I was like, "Ooh, damn!" But
he's about to beat you. He's like, Dad, come on.
Yeah. But, so before Luke goes to look for Piranha.
I remember what she called him. Luther,
that's what it was. Yeah, Luther.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm remembering some stuff. Anthony's had quite a day today.
It's all right. We'll both be well rested next week when we record our bullshit podcast that we've been meaning to do all summer.
Yeah, I'm asleep for that one.
Because that one's gonna be a long one.
He's about to miss this podcast.
48 minutes in, like, I'll keep talking to him when he comes in too. Could be worse. It could be the Logan one that we recorded where I never put up the second half because Dee didn't show up till later.
That was with the grape Kool-Aid.
That was with the terrible grape Kool-Aid because I didn't put enough sugar in it because I didn't have enough sugar.
Then we kept adding sugar.
It still didn't help. God. See, this is why our podcast takes so long, because we get off the subject so much. Stuff and things, and where was I? Okay, so
Piranha.
Luke catches that fade again.
Yeah.
Piranha was missing. At this point, the Stylers know that he has power of attorney and basically can get them all of Mariah's stuff. And they catch him.
Yep.
They catch him, and he gives them what he wants, what they want. Like,
yeah.
He gives them everything. And then
Luke, they told him, like, you give us everything, we'll let you live.
Right.
And we assumed that was actually going to happen.
We thought that was going to happen.
For the most part, Bushmaster and his group are extremely honorable.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, they're very honorable up until something goes the way they don't want it to go.
Then they like, we'll tell you, we'll save you, and then we're going to kill you.
Right.
You good?
Yeah.
Then, like, right after that good old, he gets all the stuff, Luke's looking for him with, Misty.
Yeah.
And they find, basically, a fish tank, right?
With piranhas in it.
With piranhas in it, and Piranha's head.
Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of unexpected.
Yeah.
It's kind of unexpected. I did not see that coming. Oh God, man! Like, it was another one of those characters. Like Piranha's not a good guy. He's not a bit of an asshole. He's totally an asshole. But you're like, dude, ain't deserved that.
He's if anybody's ever watched Legend of Korra, he's Varric.
Yeah.
Varric's not inherently bad. Varric's just an asshole.
Yeah, that's Piranha. Like, Piranha was just about that dollar, man, and like he was about getting it anyway. And honestly,
partying.
He wasn't really doing anything to hurt anybody, per se.
He was hurting the Luke's patience, but that was about it.
Yeah, that's why Luke threw his ass on top of a building.
Yeah, you'll make it.
Right. Man, like, God, there's just so much to cover that I'm losing track of where I am because I'm trying not to do, like, a play-by-play. Because if you guys are listening to this and you haven't watched Season 2 of Luke Cage, you fucking need to do it.
Yeah.
This was, I won't say 100% improvement over Season 1. It was 100% continuation. Like, they did a good job of making you go, huh, okay, I like where you went with this. Whereas with me, like, for Jessica Jones Season 2, which actually we should probably come back and cover that at some point, Jessica Jones Season 2 was weaker than Season 1, in my opinion.
Except for the ending.
Except for the ending.
The whole second half of Jessica Jones had me on the edge of my seat.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that made me go, huh. I didn't like the villain. We'll talk about that later, because otherwise we'll get into...
We'll start trailing off even more.
Right.
Find Piranha's head, so what to start doing now? Specifically starts looking for Bushmaster, because, Luke got thrown off that bridge, he ain't happy now.
Right. And Bushmaster...
Like, cheated me.
While they're doing that, Bushmaster's looking for Mariah.
Oh, here's the thing. It's not even the brownstone thing this time. They didn't hide up in there yet. They had, hit up in, Rand.
They hid in the brownstone before Rand.
Do they?
Yeah. Yeah, because she goes back to the burnt down brownstone after the Rand incident, and that's when she meets back up with Shades.
Okay.
Blah 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 brownstone. Where are we getting there?
Well, I mean, even before brownstone, if we have to talk about Rand, you talk about Tilda finally.
Go ahead.
When they're on the run, so Tilda's talking to Mariah inside of Rand Enterprises, and that's where she learns. Isn't that where she learns who her?
Oh, yeah, that's where she learns her parentage. I want to get back to that because that's going to be a long.
Okay.
It's going to be a long thing. What we need to talk about, Luke embracing his heroism, no matter who it is at this point. Because now, again, the Stylers are out for blood, and they're out for Mariah, and they find Mariah at her family's brownstone with her daughter, and Luke gets there after. Bushmaster sets the place on fire.
Yep.
With Mariah tied to a chair and Tilda trying to untie her. Like, he gave Tilda the opportunity to leave, but that's her mother.
To be fair, I think they should have let Tilda... They shouldn't have messed with her as much, because she helped you out at the beginning. You knew she wasn't evil.
Right. And there's
got to be some remorse for that. Come on now.
Right.
She tries saving Mariah, which was something. Tries getting her out, and then Luke walks in, just unties her, grabs her out the house, has Tilda out the house also while it's burning down.
Yeah.
Then Sugar is now practically working for Luke.
Yeah. Which Yeah, Sugar is just like...
Well, not at that point. He's
an informant for Luke.
Yeah.
Like, he's giving Luke info because, like, Sugar's not really a bad dude, and you find out more about him later, too.
He takes Mariah back to borrow some of his wife's clothes.
Yeah, some of his wife's clothing, and at that point they go to the police station next.
Yeah.
After the brownstone burns down, and they are learning more, and Mariah is not talking, and like they're trying to get. This is after Riding Hour. Yes, this is after Riding Hour. So, Jesus, jumping so much. So Mariah's been riding Shades' ass because there's a snitch in the organization.
Yep.
And we already mentioned that snitch is Comanche. And Comanche goes to meet up with Ridenour, and Shades follows him to a clandestine junkyard somewhere and sees him talking to Ridenour, and Comanche tries to play it off like, Ridenour's trying to flip him, but he wasn't.
Well, even then, Comanche kills him
Yeah.
and says, "Look, man," and he's like, "It doesn't even matter now. We got rid of him. I can help you." He's like, "He had me on a two-way leash. If I didn't say anything, I was going back to prison." And he's like, "You've been to Seagate. Nobody wants to be in Seagate."
Right.
And he's like, "I was giving up Mariah, but I never gave up you. You're my ride or die, practically."
Right.
And so, like, when that happens, he just shoots Ridenour immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, because, Ridenour was about to basically turn it over on him. And, they, what they do? No, right now I was about to turn it over on Comanche and was like, "Hey man, like, bam, this is what's been going on, Shades." Basically about to admit everything to Shades. Like, I got you dead to rights, I got Mariah dead to rights, and then he didn't get the chance to because Comanche shot him.
Yep.
And then you see Shades go over to the body, and if you pay attention, you notice the detail that he's wearing gloves.
Yep.
He starts talking, and he's like, "Yeah, this works." He's like, "This works." He's like, he came up on you, and he tried to get you to flip, and you didn't, and then bam, you shot him. And then he's like, "But that still leaves what we have to do with you." And he's like, "What are you talking about, man?" Blah, 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 blah. And they go back and forth about how they being boys, and then Shades shoots him from Ridenour's gun, from full distance away of the Ridenour's body. It would have been the perfect cover.
If it wasn't pointed down angle at him.
Well, from the first shot.
Oh, yeah.
The first shot would have been the perfect cover. Had Shades not have gotten emotional.
If Shades had let him just bleed out and die, it would have been fine. But he then proceeded to shoot Comanche a second time to finish him off.
Right.
Which broke his believability for it.
Right. And it was just one of those things to where it's like, again, you learn a crap ton about the character.
Yes.
And you're like, damn, man, like I feel for Shades, but I don't right now because you just killed your best friend, like, / potential lover, like, we don't know for sure. But on the same note, though, you're like, damn, man, like, that had to hit you hard. Especially because then the brownstone fire happens, and then Luke saves Mariah, and Mariah tells Luke she wants to hire him. They go to the police station. They're talking. Luke tries to flip Tilda, who honestly doesn't know anything at this point.
Yeah.
And Misty's pissed because Ridenour's dead. So Misty's trying to get Ridenour to flip. Well, get Mariah to flip, and she won't. And then she breaks the news that Ridenour's dead to Mariah, and Mariah flips out. There's just so many interconnecting plot lines and stories, man. They did such a good job with this. But this is the point here that you start to see Mariah Dillard embrace being Mariah Stokes and turn into Black Mariah.
Mariah Stokes.
Stokes. Mariah Stokes. Not Dillard. Stokes. God, man. We kind of dropped the whole the Misty and Bailey and Nandi thing, but we'll get back to that because Nandi's going to be a power play in a minute here.
Yeah.
So anyway, before they killed Piranha, actually you find out in the middle of this that they killed Piranha, and Piranha transferred all of Mariah's assets to Bushmaster. And Bushmaster takes the club. He takes the money. He's talking about giving the money back to the people.
He takes down the Biggie portrait. Puts up.
Puts up a. It's a Rasta portrait.
It was like an independence for Jamaica thing.
Yeah, and you're like, damn, this is what this dude wanted, and I think this is after the point that we find. No, this is before we find out his full origin story.
Yeah,
because you find out his full origin story when he gets arrested. Arrested, air quotes, arrested. So Mariah's not talking, but because technically she's the victim, so she doesn't have to talk about anything. And they want her to leave to get out of the police station. And Luke gets her in a car, gets outside, and as soon as he gets her outside, Stylers pull up in a Jamaican cab and unload, and it's Luke, so it don't do anything.
Right outside of a police station.
Outside of the police station.
Broad daylight.
Yep.
So, of course, they got to get Mariah out of there. And where did they take her to?
She went to the brownstone to recover her stuff, to see if there was anything to salvage.
Yeah.
And that's when Sugar offered her clothes, because she was still wearing the dress with the smoke damage and everything on it. And she goes and she picks up the revolver, which that revolver comes into play several more times. The pearl-handed revolver. And Sugar offers her clothes, and then Shade shows up. And they talk. He doesn't say, I don't think he told her at this point that he handled the snitch situation, did he?
No, I thought he did, because that's when they started having their big fallout. And she says, so you were only gay in prison.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Basically, she doesn't say what he wants to hear.
He starts blaming him for everything going bad.
Yeah, it's all his fault, even though it's her fault for not listening. Honestly, had she done things the way Shades wanted to do it, we would have had a short season.
Yep.
It would have ended up being Luke versus Bushmaster with the backing of Mariah's gang, because they would still have their guns. And the Stylers would have been taken out, and somehow Luke and Shades would have taken out fucking Bushmaster together. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like that it didn't end up that way, because we would have gotten 6 episodes and it would have been over.
I mean, Shades did still kind of help towards the end.
Toward kind of, but he also causes the Pokemon-style evolution of a character.
Yeah.
From hero to rook to king. 3 forms. Again, this is around the time... Right. This is around the time you see the evolution of Mariah. So they need a safe house. And Luke has Misty call Danny. And Danny has a building down there that he owns. And they go hang out. This is episode 9. They go to the Rand building. And Misty's now talking to her old boss, who was promoted to lead investigator.
Well, we talked about the bridge fight. They talk about how Danny had taught Luke to Was that at the bridge fight?
No.
It wasn't?
No.
Okay.
That fight's later. That's actually coming, because the bridge fight's episode 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't meet Danny till 10. Okay. But in episode 9, they're hanging out at this Rand building, and Misty leaves to go talk to her supervisor, because she's now acting chief of police at the precinct, because Ridenour is dead and she's got seniority, and her former chief is there talking to her, and they're trying to work out a deal for Mariah. Misty doesn't want to, but sometimes you got to play devil's advocate. Well, somebody overhears this deal. And at this point, there is a $3 million a head bounty on the Stokes?
Yep.
And the person that overhears this deal is Nandi, the detective that we talked about earlier, that's Bailey's new partner and Misty's old school and police academy and police rival.
Or as David said, hottie.
Yeah, God, she was gorgeous. She also played Faith Evans in Notorious, for those of you that haven't watched that movie yet. Yeah! Now you see it, don't you? But so she disappears, right? And Misty goes back and is talking to Mariah about the deal. and she says she needs to think about it or some shit. And Misty, like, they end up talking to Luke's dad because Luke's father is there because the church was attacked, and there's some shit that happens. Well, before everything pops off at the safe house, Mariah and Tilda sit down.
Yes.
And it's at this point, this is what Anthony wanted to talk about earlier. This is what I said it was going to take a while because this is a major point of contention amongst the fan base.
So, wait. Can I just ask you a question first before you do this?
Yeah.
Is it different in the comics?
She's not related to Mariah at all in the comics.
She's not?
Nope. Tilda Johnson is a completely different character. She was a gang boss in her own right.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This connection is completely made up for this, which I liked, though. This is the point we're making. So, Mariah and Tilda start to talk, and, like, you know, at this point we've established that Mariah loves her daughter and wants her to be a part of her daughter's life, even though she mostly hasn't. Like, she was with her father, her, quote, father. Well, we learn that Mariah was with her father as a show of wealth, basically. Mariah's with Tilda's dad because the guy was gay.
Yeah.
And being black and powerful, being gay wasn't something that he could be. So they didn't let that be known publicly. And when she ended up with Tilda's adoptive father, we find out now.
Who was actually, wasn't he also a doctor or something?
Yeah, something like that. She had already had Tilda. You find out in this season that Tilda was the product of rape and sexual assault by Mariah's uncle, Pistol Pete Stokes.
Yep.
Now, I didn't argue with somebody about this because I didn't bother opening the floodgates, but I said, like, somebody posted on Reddit about it and asked how people felt about it, you know, what they think of episode 9, and I was like, man, I was laying in bed watching this part, half asleep, and then Mariah started talking, and when she said, she looks her daughter in the eye, and she says, I tried to love you, but I can't, because every time I look at you, I just see his face. I sat up and was like, you bitch. You fucking monster. That's the way I feel about the situation. And the argument that this person posted in response to my comment was, you can't really call her a monster for not wanting to be reminded of her rape at the hands of her uncle. And I'm like, to me, while I understand that, for years of this girl's life, you've lied to her face. You've told her that you loved her. You told her that you cared about her. And now you're telling her, I never loved you.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. This is Black Mariah.
Yep.
This is evil. You're supposed to care about this woman, but now I don't give a shit about you, Mariah Stokes. That's the way I felt about it.
And I was like, you're a horrible person, but great job being a great character right now.
Right. Hated what she did. Hated what she did. Understood why she did it. And was like, Alfre Woodard deserves an Emmy nomination for this show. Yep. Because at that point, Alfre Woodard was one of those women that if I had seen her in the street after saying that to her kid, I'd slap her in the face. Like,
yep.
It's like, you don't treat your kid like that. And I did not appreciate that at all.